Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. You're listening to a Coffees with Toffees podcast. I'll be your host, Flubb, and this is the Brewmaster's Draft with my co-host, Kimbrell. And we are a talk show that basically talks about drafting, Dota, and talking about beers. And hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to get draft beers in our own session. And I'd like to get a bar, down where I live, and be able to just sit there and drink it with you guys. It'd be a lot of fun. But that is for the future, and we're going to talk about the present right now. So I'm going to shoot it over to Kimbrell, let him talk for a little bit. Kimbrell, you want to say hi to everyone?
Hey everyone. It's Monday. I hate Monday, but I said this last week. Well, what are you drinking today?
I am going to be drinking, well, now we should state this. Kimbrell had a great idea, and we are going to kind of do a new thing where, we are the Brewmaster's Draft, so we have to rate things in thunderclaps, and we're going to give them between 1 and 5 thunderclaps instead of stars. And for what I'm drinking today is actually something my second oldest brother got me. It's called Old Rasputin. It's a Russian imperial stout. I'm not a big fan of stouts, but we'll see how it goes.
How many thunderclaps would you give it?
What are you drinking first?
Okay. Okay. I'm drinking Moostrel. I actually had it on Saturday, I believe, when I went out with a couple friends. It's a brown ale. It's brewed out of Montana, I believe. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not too bitter. It's actually really smooth.
Oh man, my stout is very bitter.
Yeah.
That's a stout for you. So there's not really much, and it's actually got Rasputin on the title. I don't know if it's really easy to tell by the camera, but it's got the old creepy picture of Rasputin on there. So it's a decent beer. It's kind of crazy looking and tastes really what it represents, kind of like an old man. It's ridiculous. So I'm gonna give it 2 thunderclaps actually. Those of you who are heavy imperial stout drinkers would probably like this a lot. I'd give it a 4 for you guys, 4 thunderclaps for you guys, but for a weakling like me, only 2.
Well, it's not too bad, I guess. I would say the Moostrel is it's really, really smooth. I'm probably gonna give it, I would say, 4 thunderclaps. It's one of my favorites that I've had recently. So the only thing that I'm not a big fan of, the names, I like the name. However, explaining to someone, I tweeted the other day that I was having Moostrel, and I got tweets back like, "What are you doing to those poor moose, however you want to say it. It's plural, it's moose, I believe." Yeah. Anyway, what are you doing to those poor moose and all that stuff? And it's just funny. Like, no, it's a beer. Sure. It's just it's a funny topic, but I would give it 4 out of 5, I think. Yeah,
that's still pretty good beer. I don't know, man. I guess I'm just a weenie or something, but I just can't get into this imperial stout, man. It's just they're too strong for me. They got that. There's too much bitters in it, and I'm more of like the light, kind of cool beer drinker. Sit around with a bunch of friends, talk stuff out, not get like too heavy and serious on the drawback. But to each their own. So I kind of wanted to go over some of the things. Some crazy stuff has been going on. So I kind of wanted to let you kind of go into it, but you were saying to me the other day that the Devils are dropping, and we've kind of done some special stuff there. So you're not really going to be, you're associated with the .p still, but you're not like under their name for your team anymore.
Right. .p Devils is no more. Our team split. We just couldn't figure out the schedules. We had 2 guys who were seniors who had a lot going on and who were graduating. We had one guy, Gengakai, is trying to, I believe, go back to Korea as far as I know. So him trying to figure out that situation was difficult. We had one guy figuring out housing situations. I'm getting married soon, and there was just a lot going on, and figuring out schedules with each other with 2 of those guys in Pacific time, 2 of them in Eastern, and then I'm in the middle at Central. So it was just a pain trying to figure all that out. And
Right.
yeah, I just didn't want to put a lot of pressure on those guys that are messing with school right now. One of them, has school and a job and stuff like that. So I told him, dude, Dota is like nowhere near as important as all of that. So figure all that out. If you want to play again, come, whenever you're ready, play again. More than welcome. I would love to.
But Dota is life, man. You gotta
exactly.
always do it. No, I'm right there with you. I have to do that myself this week. Can't be into the Kiev qualifiers like I've wanted to. So you gotta do what you gotta do. But at the same time, it is a killer when you can't be into Dota and be on a team or stuff like that. So
absolutely. I even thought for a little bit before all that happened, I was like, I am getting married and all this stuff's happening, and maybe one day there'll be little Kimbrells running around. I don't know how that's gonna, whenever that happens. So maybe I should start weaning myself off of this game. And then I was just like, I can't really. I tried a few days, and it's addictive. Surprisingly, even at like a lower skill or whatever skill you're at, I believe it's a stupid addictive game. So
oh yeah, there's a reason why people like have those memes about staying in their room in college or whatever. You're just like, oh, should I go to class? But Dota, it's like, yeah.
Right.
I've been there at times in my past, and I can't do that anymore. I can't do the nope. I got to do a path. That's just that's too much.
I'm so happy I didn't discover Dota back when I was physically going to class. I'm doing online school right now, so it's a lot easier for me.
Oh, nice.
Well, I say that it's a lot easier, but then again, there's I see the little Dota icon. I'm like,
see, that's the killer for me, man. If I didn't have that person in person that I was disappointing, and they don't care anyway. But it's like my guilty conscience that's like, nope, you gotta stop playing Dota for a little bit and actually be a real person for just a few days. Get yourself out of your house, out of your situation, and being able to be online class, I couldn't distance myself in those two worlds. So
yeah,
more power to you though, man.
Yeah, it's more of a challenge than I thought it would be. So I've always, those guys are like, oh, I'm, online school. I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy, he's got the life, he's got it made. And then I start doing online school. I'm like, no,
yeah,
please no.
Yeah, it's completely different. I've only taken one online class, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing that again. So I hear you, man. But kind of something cool kind of came out of it that you're kind of splitting up with the team. Me and Kimbrell are actually forming a new team. We are kind of finding new people at this point. Some of the people, there's, was it Kyrai from the old .p Devils is going to be joining us in this team, and an old buddy on Ham, Fafnir, is going to be joining us on that side of things. So kind of converging the leftovers of two different teams together, just having fun, playing out. In the future, I'm going to be actually streaming that, and maybe Kimbrell can do some streaming of it on the side, and we kind of let you guys know about that in the future. I just wanted to let you guys know about that, what's going on behind the scenes at this point. We're trying to get stuff together, and it should be an exciting new team. Many different skill levels, but all cool people that are wanting to get better together. So it should be fun.
For sure. I think I'm the lowest skill level on the team as of right now, so I don't feel too terribly bad. I'm pretty excited.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully, since spring break is coming up, we can get some serious practice in and have some fun.
Right. I actually listening to your Flubb date the other day or yesterday. I was like, when you were talking about making the party MMR the gap lower from 2000, I was like, but then I can't play with Flubb. Oh no, that's not good.
Yeah, I understand that, and it would kind of suck that we couldn't play together in that capacity, but we can't play together anyway with ranked at this point because of how the MMR shift is going. So
right. I mean, that's a whole different subject. I think there's different things they can do. I liked one of your ideas about pretty much resetting everything. You're gonna piss a lot of people off, but I do think it needs to be redone somehow. But that's a whole different subject.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, well, we can talk about it a little bit. We still got a little bit of time if you want, but if you don't want to get into it, that's cool. We can get into the draft. Up to you, man.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get in the draft. That's fine.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So last week, we dissected Kimbrell's draft and what he could do. I'm going to give a plan this time, and you guys can dissect it and get on top of what I am going to do here, because it's kind of a crazy draft once again. I always like to challenge myself and try to push, because you don't want to see the drafts that are like 4 heroes that they're picking constantly in the pro scene, and then just like put one other guy that's different in it. I wanted to kind of throw something new at you, kind of have like a different take on it. At the same time, though, I'm not a complete nut, and I pick all the heroes that are on the low end, because you don't want to necessarily do that. There's a reason why the meta exists, and the meta has a certain form to it, because certain items, certain heroes really benefit from that meta. So when you're thinking outside the box like this, you're going to have to wait kind of for the whole thing to be unraveled. But it's got a lot of depth to it, and I hope you guys like it. So first off, I'm going to just explain the picking order of what it is. I'll just say the 5 heroes, and this is how I would pick them from first to last. So I'd pick Centaur first in this draft that I could possibly make, and possibly Sladar, and we'll get into that in the future. So it's the Centaur or Sladar and as your first pick. Then you kind of go into the Invoker pick, and from the Invoker pick, your second phase will go into a Dazzle and a Clock. And you're going to round out the whole draft with a Razor. And it's possible to be able to kind of mix that up and go into a lifestealer or a gyro. But for this type of draft idea, we're going to try to stick to the whole Centaur, Invoker, Dazzle, Clock, Razor, because that's the ones that I think that you could easily get through and kind of counter some of the actives that are generally picked over on the other side, and you can have a lot of potential with it. So this is the picking order. I pick Centaur first. The draft is Centaur, Invoker, Dazzle, Clock, Razor. I pick Centaur first because it's not giving up very much in the draft, and it allows you to have a situation where, okay, they pick Centaur, they have a strong offlaner, and they kind of know it from the beginning, so you can kind of play to that advantage. So they know that what your offlane is going to be, and they're going to try to pick around that in general. A lot of ways that you can stop that is picking up like a lifestealer to be able to just outman mode him and kind of heal off of that massive damage that you're going to get. And we'll get into that part later. Or you can go into a lot of other different styles of trying to take him down with like Kotl and things like that, which we'll also talk about here in a little bit. But it kind of forces people to draft a certain way to counter that pick. And there's some pretty good ways to counter it by the rest of the draft. So Centaur's the first pick, and then we go Invoker. And I choose Invoker because at this point you don't want to reveal too much about the rest of the draft, and it sucks that you're picking 2 of your cores in the very beginning. But it kind of leaves up the tri-lane to a situation where you can take it aggressively, or you can take it defensively. And the Invoker, what he really brings to the table is that he brings a lot of team fight that is very needed, and he brings an element of he can go damage, he's a kind of a utility hero, obviously, because he's so versatile in what he can do and what his spells are capable of doing. So he's kind of crucial to the plan for what you can accomplish later on. Dazzle is the next important piece of the puzzle. Dazzle is really, really important because it's about keeping your carry alive by using the potential of Shallow Grave, kind of forcing people into a certain type of situation. Aghs does counter him, but with the lineup that we have, we will actually counter Aghs by the end of it, and kind of force him to think twice about picking where he's going to go on the safe lane or on the off lane or trying to go jungle. So what we'll have is we'll have Clock, and why I'm picking Clock and Razor at the end is because one of my favorite things about this combo is that, yes, Clock will be kind of a sacrificial lamb, so to say, but with the combination of Dazzle, you can kind of use Clock into a precarious position and at the same time shallow grave him so that he won't die, and you can just suck up the damage off of the razor from cogging someone in, and it goes, I mean, it goes through magic immunity. They have to attack the cogs to get through, and it's just a really nice going through magic immunity, nice CC combination with both the taking the damage from razor and the clock being able to push people away, kind of control the combat in general. So if you can pick up an early boots type way, which I'll explain later in the draft, you can kind of set up the razor to just drain drain damage out of someone and really take advantage of that early game potential, forcing them to leave the lane and letting razor farm by himself. If you can do that, then clock can roam with a more aggressive lineup, and same thing with a Dazzle. And Dazzle roaming isn't necessarily good unless you can get someone like a Centaur and really force someone out of a really hard situation. So the idea for this is basically you have the Centaur and you use him as a kind of like a bait mechanism for trying to draft against him. And then when you kind of see these melee heroes being picked up that are tanky, that can kind of deal with them, that have like maybe magic immune, like a Jug or a lifestealer, you can then move your tri-lane with a razor to suck up all the damage and prevent them from doing anything. And clock level 1 isn't generally very strong with the potential of, you know, outreach of damage, but he has a lot of pushing people away in contact, and razor's ability, if used correctly, is one of the strongest in the beginning of the game. So basically you just kind of fill the weaknesses between every single guy and forcefully counter the other team and try to bait them into a certain position in the draft to begin with. It's a lot of fun. I encourage you to think like this way. Before I get into the bans, though, I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, Kimbrell. What do you like? What do you dislike? What do you feel about this draft?
Okay, so when you first sent me this draft this morning, I kind of thought about it, and one of the first things I thought was, if you're able to rotate clockwork early, it's almost I feel like almost a guaranteed kill mid, and depending on who's there, because you have Invoker there, right? And Invoker cold snap on top of clockwork's cogs on top of his battery assault, like that's just a stupid amount of lockdown, and that's almost impossible for somebody to get out of unless they have some kind of escape mechanism. So I don't know. I really like the draft. Just looking at it, the only issue that I really had was the only stun. Like, you have the clockwork, battery assault, and hook shot, but besides that, the only AoE you have is Centaur and I think tornado, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, besides that, there wasn't really any issues I had with it. I could see it going over really well. I had a draft in mind that I would probably go with, taking at face value. Like, if I just saw that draft and then could, you know, counter it without there being any bans or anything like that. I had a pretty good draft in mind, I think.
I'm interested. I want to see if I can counter your counter here.
Okay. So dual lanes I feel like are definitely needed. Trying against Centaur, he's tanky enough, so killing him lane, you can do it, but I just feel like it's not worth it. Also, you need something to help you with cogs. So the draft I went with that I just kind of thought of today was a Vengeful Spirit, Weaver, OD, Sand King, and Void. This might be completely off, might be wrong, might not be a good idea, I don't know. But the thought I had was going dual lanes. And if you go with Sand King, the other option I had besides Sand King was gyro. But I think I like the Sand King more than gyro because it's another escape mechanism from, like, Clockwork's cogs. So I put, I was thinking of Sand King and, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sand King and Void go off lane and just run an aggro. It would put Weaver and Vengeful in the safe lane and then OD mid. So OD Invoker I feel like is a decent matchup. you're able to imprison. Most ODs now go the max imprison anyway, I believe. Go the imprisonment against the Invoker. That's a pretty good harass. You're also able to stop his cold snap if he does initiate on you. If you have the Invoker and Clockwork mid, you're able to imprison the Clockwork and still run out away from the Invoker, because if you're in a position to get cold snapped and be hit more than, you know, twice, then you're just not in good, like, I don't think you're in good position as it is anyway. You shouldn't be where you're at.
Right.
So anyway, I put Venge and Weaver in the bottom lane versus the Centaur. Centaur starts out with about 3 armor, I believe. So I don't think you're gonna kill him, but you're gonna. I feel like you make it at least a pain in the ass. You would max stun on Venge and max your minus armor, your bugs on Weaver, I think. But you would have the minus armor from Venge, which level 1 minus armor, I think it's -3. And then Weaver's minus armor stays at the same the whole time. It's just -1 armor. So I feel like that would be a decent thing against Centaur just by himself in lane.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I like the idea of what you're doing. Actually, the thing that I like about your draft the most is that you decided to do Void in the offlane. That's one of the heroes I did not put on my ban list. And it makes a lot of sense to why you do that, just because you can jump out of the problem to begin with. You can just blink out of the problem. And
right.
It is kind of a good way to draft, and that's kind of why I put him at the end. And it makes sense. Obviously, you're saying, like, if you knew the draft beforehand, you'd go down this path. And it makes a lot of sense on why you would do that. I really like the potential of what you're doing with Void and how you can try to, like, punish me for what I do. Because not only are you punishing the Razor in this scenario, you're punishing the ability for a Centaur. He can't really use his ult to save people anymore. They're just stuck in that chrono for a while. So, yeah, I like that potential right there. And I love to have Weaver with the chrono, because you can just throw bugs on top of it. Also,
right, and then you've got, you know, OD just racking up a stupid amount of damage with the int that he's getting. So
right,
that's like when he gets his Q. Another thing was with the Void. So say your Razor is static linked against the Void, and he's you have an opportunity, and then Void jumps away, and you kind of dive just a little bit, not far, but just a little bit, and he's Sanking is in that lane. And as a Sanking, I feel like in that lane, you want to at least have 1 skill in Caustic. And I feel like that's very punishable. Like, if you're diving against any creeps that have Caustic Finale on them and you start backing, like, Sanking is able to take advantage of that and not only slow you, but able to hit those creeps and pop all that damage off of Caustic Finale. So yeah, and then also I would max stun. I think I would go 1-1-1 on Sanking and then max the stun. And then sorry, I'm like I'm like reading my email that I wrote to myself, and then it keeps on, it's being weird. Anyway, I'm sorry. So Razor's passive is the only issue. I think Sanking would be okay versus that though, and this would be okay. But if you put a Venge up there, like that's why I didn't put the Venge up there, is if you stun like the Razor as he's chasing you, you're not really able to get out of that situation. You're just kind of slowed and you're gonna die. But yeah, and then like you said, the Void sets up the fights, allows OD to hit whoever. If there's somebody that's not chronoed, say you don't chrono the Dazzle, OD can trap the Dazzle, so the Dazzle's not able to save. And then yeah, there's just a lot of disruption with the Grave and heals and stuff like that, plus the minus armor. To deal with the plus armor from Dazzle, I feel like there would need to be ganks mid versus the Invoker though. And I think that's pretty easy to do with if you have a setup with the imprisonment. So you just set up and then follow up with Sanking, follow up with Venge if you want to duo rotate.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. And that's an interesting idea. Personally, if I saw your draft, I think what I would do to try to counter it is to move my tri-lane to the off-lane. A Weaver has a lot of potential for, you know, trying to last hit and things like that. But with if Clockwork ever got him into a cogs, he's 100% dead, even if they have a Venge that can stun once. And you could move your Sand King down to kind of deal with that problem, but once again, you're kind of left to this type of tri-lane versus tri-lane thing, and I think Razor kind of beats him out in that scenario. But then you would be 1v1ing a Centaur versus a Void, and Void gets more farm out of that for sure. He gets, well, not necessarily more farm, but he's in the better high ground type situation, because yeah, you could double edge him, but he's just gonna jump the damage away. So you have to like stun him, double edge him at the right point in time, and try to like keep him locked down, which really won't work versus the Void. But at least you can get your farm and then rotate from that point on. And if you have that, the thing is with offensive tri-lanes, a lot of times what they're successful with, if you can do it correctly, is forcing people to answer to that offensive tri-lane. Or if they're going to give up the farm on a core like that, because you have a lot of cores in that situation, it's going to be hard to give up all the possible potential in that lane and kind of move to a different lane because one of your cores isn't going to do anything. Whereas with my tri-lane, I'm guaranteeing Razor farm, and if they don't move to mid, then Invoker is going to have a pretty easy time versus most other mids. OD, you're right, that would be painful, but you would have more of a potential than most other people versus an OD, having the spirits and having the potential that you normally would have. So it's an interesting counter pick. I'm going to go into the bans now, kind of talk about what I thought about banning to begin with, and kind of go into your perspective. So, like I said at the beginning, Centaur and Invoker are going to be the ones that I pick first, kind of answering what needs to happen with the rest of the draft. So the first two things that I would ban are probably Lone Druid and Kotl. Kotl, maybe timbersaw. So it's kind of a draft that timbersaw could just blow up because there's some strength heroes with having the clock and the Centaur, and that could be kind of a problem. Whereas, and there's no like true lockdown like you were saying before, except for Centaur and the clock. And if you do it right, clock doesn't really stop a timbersaw from chaining away if you do it just at the right time. So it kind of has a lot of potential versus this draft, and kind of has a lot of problems that could, like, you can blow up people super fast with a timbersaw, and Dazzle also has that trouble of gauging when to shallow grave someone, that type of stuff. So I was more worried about like the potential of blowing people up too quick. So I went with timbersaw, and then Lone Druid is just someone that's just crazy to begin with, and it's someone that you just don't want to deal with on this team because he just has the potential of keeping people at bay. And if you can't initiate with like 2 initiators in a solid fashion on a Lone Druid, then you just kind of, you have to give up, you know. And he's just too strong. Lone Druid, the Lonely Druid build is just really good right now. It has a lot of potential. That's why I actually leave Sladar open, and he's a possible pick, because actually Sladar and Lone Druid are the 2 most picked ban heroes right now for good reason. And the possibility of just what they do is too strong. So if you have the ability to pick the Sladar, I would actually rather have a Sladar than a Centaur in the long run, but you're probably not going to get it. So that's why I put Sladar into the field, kind of am working on what he's got available to him. The next two picks were Dazzle Clock. So if I'm going to pick Dazzle Clock, I need to have answers that take away from Invoker, because Invoker was my second pick. If they don't pick the OD in the beginning, then I need to have ways to stop him in the next phase. So I was actually going to ban OD and ban Storm, because Storm destroys Dazzle. And I would normally ban Nyx, but if you would do a Nyx off lane versus a Razor, he will lose out of that fight every time, because you're just going to steal damage from him and make him useless. He could spam waves with his Q, but he's not going to get a lot out of lane. And that's kind of the problem, is he can't really go back into the jungle as well as other people. So if you're versus a Razor, he's just not going to have the same potential. And that's why I chose Storm. And then lastly, I'm going for that Razor pick. So I'm going for more of this single target focus type deal. Now if I'm going super single target, I want to stop their split push potential and their image potential. So the guy that's the most split push and the most image potential right now that's popular in the meta is Terrorblade. So that would be my last pick to stop it off. And that's actually why I say gyro is a possibility to pick this up. So if they have a Terrorblade, I would pick up gyro just to counter that aspect of him and keep the ability to still get the clockwork as a roamer. It's really smart. You can use your what is it? The Q ability. Can't think of it right now. The gunner or whatever. The guy who shoots around it. You can walk around the edge of it and just shoot up a person that's in cogs. You can also use your flat cannon to destroy illusions later on. Just has a lot of potential for the team. Lifestealer, he has a lot of targets that he can jump into to like explode out, kind of deal with some of the guys. Maybe if you wanted to, if you really wanted to deal with a Nyx assassin better than a Razor, he's probably the only other guy that's better than versus Nyx assassin than Razor is, and his potential is really strong right now in the meta anyway, and versus a lot of magic damage that exists, especially versus someone like an OD that is possibly picked up. So yeah, that's kind of like why I went with those styles. And it's funny that you picked up the Void and you picked up these Blink heroes, because that's why I did the Razor last. Is if you're getting all these situations where it's like, oh, okay, they have the Centaur, the Invoker, and the Dazzle as the first three picked, that's not a clear Blink lineup. Go Blink as much as you possibly can. So if they're already picking in this meta, which is like Ogre, Earth Spirit, all these guys that are decent, tanky, or have like some ways of getting away, but not the best ways of getting away. Earth Spirit wouldn't be too bad because you can kick clock out and then just like run away with your rolling boulder. But there's also other ways to stop that as well, just getting in front of him and kind of having a better position clock in general. So, you know, that's that's kind of funny that you went down that path, because that's the path that I was trying to avoid by picking towards the end. It makes sense that you went down it, though.
Yeah, the other mid I had an idea of was Storm, and you banned him, obviously. There was another hero that you banned. The other hero I thought about was, there was the Storm, and then, the Illusion hero. So I thought about something like a Terrorblade or a CK. I don't think CK would do as well because he doesn't really split push, but I also thought about Terrorblade. I thought that would be really good, be able to split push, and also there's not a single like target for Razor to steal damage from, etc.
Right.
But the heroes I picked in the face value draft, I felt like were pretty good. Just you have so much, like I already said, you have so much disruption, but you also have so much escape with the Vengeful. OD usually builds a forcestaff into a Hurricane Pike. Vengeful can build a forcestaff. Void's able to jump out. Sand King's able to, use his Q out. So, but yeah, I really liked your draft. I would probably, instead of Razor, I like Gyrocopter a lot. Just because, I don't know, I've always liked that hero. I hate that he hasn't been very popular recently, but I think Razor would work just fine.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is I chose someone specifically on the like not touched list for pros, because I'm one of the people who I have to prove people wrong, right? I have to prove that like this guy works in the meta, and he actually kind of does. Because if you look at the way that people are picking, and a lot of the heroes that have the potential of getting these abilities to stop Razor, and the thing that really stops Razor is a Hurricane Pike. Hurricane Pikes were crazy for a while, and they still are, to some extent. But if you think of like SF and a lot of the other heroes that have that range potential, there's still like that potential for it, but Luna's going down in popularity right now. Drow's not as popular as she once was. These heroes that just like are mainboarding Hurricane Pike as fast as possible are kind of like sinking into existence. And you're seeing lifestealer, you're seeing gyro every once in a while, but not a lot. And his potential is kind of weird where he does magic damage, but he does kind of get close to you at the same time. And you can kind of gain that advantage on that fight. And you have these heroes that are wanting to kind of be a presence in the mid to early game where Razor kind of outshines them. And if he can also deny them their farm in the beginning, these guys that are very hard to deny farm, you kind of go way, kind of destroy someone else's draft more than helping your own in that aspect. And a lot of people don't count that into the calculations when they're doing drafts, even pros. So there's a lot of times where like you'll see Jug picked up or Lifestealer or these guys that have this crazy amount of potential and really hard to stop. These guys with early BKBs pretty much with their abilities. And if you can get them to be in that situation where they're like, oh, I'm just going to BKB through it. Well, no, you're not, because you're still going to lose all that damage. You're still, the guy that you're spinning on or the guy that you're going on still has the potential of shallow graving them, keeping them up, or healing wave. Like melee guys versus healing wave just they get destroyed. And in the beginning, a lot of the potential isn't a lot of damage AoE. They build for that in the late game, and there's a lot of wombo combo for the late game, but not in like early tri lanes. So you can't just like burst down a creep wave as fast as you normally could, because you can just heal on top of it and do massive amounts of damage and kind of turn a fight. So yeah, it's something that I'm very interested to try out, and I hope someone tries out tonight for sure. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or I want to go into the items here pretty soon and builds on how to do this?
We can. Earlier you mentioned aghs though, real quick, and I was just going to talk about aghs for a second against Dazzle. I really, obviously he's a counter. I don't think a lot of people think about in lane though. I feel like Dazzle's very, very good against aghs, and like you said, a melee hero against a lot of creeps with Dazzle and his heal bomb. Like that's just a pain in the ass. And I don't know. I've never been a big fan of aghs versus Dazzle, except for the obvious thing, the shallow grave. But in lane, I feel like he completely screws him over. So until he gets 6, like he has to. I feel like he has to go jungle against that lane in your draft. I feel like aghs just needs to go jungle. But also something you were talking about is the heroes being picked now more often are like lifestealer and more tankier early BKB or already built-in BKB heroes and things like that. And maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm wrong on this idea that's kind of going through my head. But I feel like the reason why the Drow Luna drafts worked so well is the main goal obviously was to push down all the outer towers and then take the shrines, take Roche, and then try to push high ground. Well, now to take shrines, you need that tier 3. And taking a tier 3, going high ground is such a pain in the ass because of the shrines that they have, and high ground in general is already, painful. But then the shrines and anything else to help defend high ground, I feel like a tankier and those earlier BKB or built-in BKB heroes help you take high ground a little easier. And so maybe it's not going to be as fast, but I feel like being able to take at least that tier 3, take down those shrines, and then take an easier Roche, I feel like that makes it just overall an easier draft. And I feel like that might be why those heroes are becoming more popular.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, really. The potential of going to high ground is always really scary, and people want to take advantage of what is possible, and you have these early type heroes, they want to still be able to push the high ground when you have a huge advantage. And the best way to do that is to have a BKB and to have the guy just hit a tower and then BKB whenever he gets in trouble. And if it's built into a skill, he can have more damage or have a desolator or have these ways to get around it to chump down that tower so that they have to make a move kind of quicker and not have all the time in the world to set up or try for hooks or try for mag alts or, you know, RPs, the skewers or whatever, you know. So that potential is very strong, and you're right about that. I do think though, if you can stop that potential earlier than they can even start it, right? Like these guys are kind of snowbally heroes to a point, and they kind of counteract that by using these maelstroms to like farm and get like that potential. They're like, okay, we're trying to go to a later game or like a not a later game, but an earlier mid game, and you can have that potential more when you got that extra farm that offers from Maelstrom. And if you can kind of deny them that Maelstrom or deny them that ability that they normally go first, it is going to be way stronger to the team because they're depending on that item to then skyrocket them to a certain point. So, yeah, that's a good point you brought up though, for sure, because that's something that was in my mind too.
Yeah, what would your items be with those heroes?
All right, so kind of going into like items and build section here. For Centaur, I would kind of go the normal build for him. Generally, you want to get 1 level in Hoof Stomp, kind of max your double edge, and then get your return like 1 point, and kind of keep the explosive damage that you can from him. I would even say at some versus most drafts, you're probably going to want to get like more points into your Hoof Stomp eventually instead of over your return, because you're going to want your return when you're taking high ground, and you're not going to be able to take high ground with a draft like this until probably 25 at least, maybe 30 or 35. It's going to be a little slower than average. So you need the Centaur to be able to kind of dive past behind someone, blow them up, and kind of create something that you normally couldn't see. And I actually wouldn't even get blink on him before the only reason why I'd ever get blink on him is if I could blink before I could hit my clock level 6. That's a really hard thing to do, because either the clock has to have a really crappy game and you have to have a good game, or you have to just play out of your mind and clock isn't a part of the ganks that you're getting as a Centaur. So a lot of times I would probably go Hood first and then go Blink, and the idea is for going Hood first and then Blink is that you're able to get more out of lane, kind of be the presence at bottom, be more safe by yourself. Whereas if you go Blink, you're going to be initiating more, and you're going to want that for the team fights. So whenever you get a hook in and then you kind of have people collapse, everyone collapses around the hook shot. And then you have the Centaur blink in, hoof stomp, the back line, double edge, kind of gets that AoE presence that would normally be single target initiation. But with that initiator on the 4 roll, kind of allows him to be that AoE presence that normally wouldn't happen. And kind of can line up a lot of stuff with Invoker by doing that, whether it's the person in the cogs or the person that's kind of or the people that have been hoof stomped. It kind of creates a lot for the potential of what that Invoker can do. So yeah, that's what you start off with Centaur. I would then try to go into maybe Pipe and then Aghanim Scepter from there. And if you can go Pipe, Aghanim Scepter, you want Pipe to be able to get high ground. Pipe is a great ability to stop people who just nuke down creep waves. Kind of helps you out in a team fight in general a lot of times. If there's like no magic damage, which is a weird setup for this meta, I would consider going Crimson just so you have all the different right click. A lot of potential you could also have is just going aghs to begin with, because you can actually run over the cogs if you have that. So you can jump in, stomp someone, alt everyone up into whatever direction they want, over the cogs, under the cogs, whatever, over trees, get around in any direction that you want. And it's all about controlling the idea of what people are wanting out of the team fight. You can move around in any direction, and that's always the strongest thing about Dota. That's why blinks are so crazy. It's all about positioning. And if you can create positions by making a clock come in and forcing them into awkward situations, and then getting a Centaur to be able to move you into the right position. Kind of allows you a lot of leeway, a lot of forceful movements that you would not normally be able to make with with any other type of hero. So that's what you go for Centaur. Invoker, I'd actually would consider going quas or exort. It depends on who you're going versus. Quas is really strong versus people like Ember Spirit if you're trying to get rid of that shield that he's got. It actually works really well because if you have all this ability to cancel out everyone's mana, you can have a Razor that kind of is... He's not weak to spell damage, but there's a lot of times where like AoE spell damage can actually really hurt him. So if you have a Quas combo where you can just take out everyone's mana, that's really strong, and it gives a lot of potential on the map, and it kind of gives him more room once again. So you go Quas, or you can go exort. And I would go exort, especially if I'm going versus an aghs, because you can have a clockwork rotate on the jungle, and then he's going to be faster, because aghs has to get those items to be able to farm the creep camps or anything in general. So you're going to get those early boots on clock, and then you're going to have a Sunstrike on top of an easy cog with battery assault. Easy cleanup. Just every time gets destroyed. Dazzle can also be there. You do a heal on top of the aghs, create that extra damage barrier where you're also doing damage. Just a lot of potential with that situation. And the items that I would go with Invoker are more of a... I mean, it's still the same thing that Invoker's always done, right? If you're going for Exort, you want that build where you're trying to go as high level as possible so that Sunstrike does as much as it can early game. If you're trying to... But you want to try to keep your guy to be able to do everything eventually, because you're kind of the bread and butter of this draft. And getting an aghs scepter is super, super crucial. So, keeping that in mind, you kind of want to go aghs, like maybe go into the blink route with TP boots, and kind of going into maybe a Lincoln Spear if possible, if there's a lot of single target stuns, because it's kind of what's popular right now is these single target spells, and then some big AoE spells to kind of wrap it all together. And it's just a strong item to begin with. So that's what I'd go for Invoker. Then I would go into Dazzle. And Dazzle is someone that I've been playing a lot with a bunch of success. And this is kind of how I've been building him, is you actually forego the slow. If you really, really need it to catch people, because for some reason they're grabbing a bunch of boots and clock isn't able to do anything, then it's okay to get like 1 point in it. But pretty much you want to max the other two as much as possible, and really take advantage of the waves and controlling the push that you get from Dazzle by nuking a creep wave and healing your creep wave at the same time. He's almost like the push on your team that's really needed. Him, Razor eventually, and your Centaur, with maybe Forged Spirits. So he has a lot of potential on the team. And because he has this big, massive heal early, you can kind of forego a lot of the other stuff that you can get. So like you don't necessarily have to go mech, and you can go into a more classic beginning build of classic Ward. You know, just you grab what's needed for your game, you get what you have to, and then you can go into mana boots, early mana boots, forcestaff, glimmer, and ghost scepter if needed. Basic saving items type build, because you don't need the mech with the giant wave heal and the grave that has like 15-second cooldown. And then the crux of this draft is the Razor and the clock. So Razor, you actually want to go static link first level, just so you can soak that damage. Static link your area, the burst Q ability. You want to use that as your second point, just so you have sight in general. And then you want to go back to your static link, steal that damage. And you don't want to get more than level 2 of that until you reach level like 11, or maybe even further than that. But you basically just want to keep it at level 2 because it's very strong at level 2. It gives a lot to your hero. And at level 4, a character level 4, you can pick up the Unstable Current. giving yourself that movement speed, so you not only have sight with your Q, you have the movement speed to be able to keep up with people, and the ability to just drain people out. It makes you just very self-sufficient in lane. Then you want to max your Q. You don't want to get your ultimate at level 6. You just want to max it all the way, so you can have some type of burst, give you more sight once again, and kind of just allows your character to be a little more self-contained, because your ultimate level 1, its real advantage is its sight, and if you use Q correctly for sight, you really don't need it until you reach level 8. So you pick up that one, and then at level 9 you pick up the unstable current again, with the final going into the talent of movement speed, just so you are guaranteed that you're going to be on top of people, stealing that damage, because that's the most important thing about this draft, is that you're canceling out the other person's farm. Going into that concept for items, you kind of want to start with the beginning part of Aquila. You want to try to work towards that eventually, so you kind of want to have those for starting items. But you want to go immediately into your phase boots. Gives you a lot of last hit potential, gives you a lot of chase down potential. So you get phase, Aquila, into Dragon Lance, then Yasha, just so you have the movement speed once again, kind of gives you a lot of potential. You want to then go aghs. Aghs at this point, you should be getting it around 25-30 minutes, and once you hit that, you can just take towers with aghs and forcefully kind of push down situations. You'll be very tanky. It gets a lot of availability for yourself. Then you want to go into either pike or BKB, like force pike, hurricane pike, or BKB, and it's whatever you're facing in that game for the potential of whatever you're making. It kind of gives you a lot of sustain, whatever keeps you alive at that point, because you are going to put yourself into some pretty bad situations at some point, and it's really nice to have that, including, I mean, obviously you can use Dazzle and help him out that way, but you can't keep Dazzle on him 24/7, and BKB is a good safety precaution. So you go that with Razor, and then Clock. Clock, you get Cog and Battery. You don't even get your a point of Flare for a while, and there's a reason why I do this, because Cogs, if done correctly, can take away a bunch of mana from team fights, especially with a quas Invoker. You can take out their mana, and then you can guarantee that they have no mana. And if a guy's caught in Cogs and the rest of his team has no mana, it's a guaranteed kill, it's a guaranteed push on a tower, and you just keep that potential going and going and going. So you want to have your Cog and your Battery Assault going back and forth. You have to get early boots, clarity, smoke, and tangos. That's the things you get on Clock. If you need stuff for invis, that's what Dazzle's there for. Clock has to get the potential to chase someone down. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to do anything. So you have that potential there, and then you go phase once again, because it's about chasing down people. Earn, drops, earn, and then like raindrops. So if you have earn and raindrops, you'll have the potential of not only getting the mana back that you desperately need, but you also have the potential of healing people. So not only Dazzle's the only one that can heal, you can have that like potential of keeping people alive and having that push potential, because he's going to be getting all the kills, or be at least around all the kills constantly. So you need that earn on him, and then you eventually want to go force and blade mail. Blade mail and force are very crucial to him, because eventually he's going to be a sacrificial lamb. He cogs in, he hooks in cogs, and they're going to focus the crap out of him, or, I mean, because he's going to be in an awkward position. So if you can try to like get them to not focus him, that would be pretty crucial to your lineup. So yeah, that's kind of how I'd go. How would you build these guys?
Pretty similar. I can't say much for Invoker because I played that hero like twice by accident. So I would go with Razor. I like your build. I've never really playing Razor mid or carry gone aghs as it was like your second major item, I think.
Kind of. Yeah, it's like
was it your?
It's piecemeal. So it's like it's a weird build, and that's why it's kind of aghs is kind of your major item. The first.
Yeah, actually, it's your first major item because Yasha's not really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the build I used to go instead of aghs, I would go Deso. Like I would go, and yours is probably better, I would say. I'm thinking about it, but I would usually go the Aquila phase boots and then the Yasha, and then from there I would go instead of Sanj and Yasha like a lot of people build. I would just see what I would be up against. So if there's a lot of things to dispel, I would go Manta. If there weren't, then I would just go Sanj and Yasha and then get a BKB. But within that window, I would also I would get a Desolator and push. But I feel like aghs is obviously, it takes down buildings a lot faster than a Deso does. So I really like the aghs. I could never really like convince the people I was playing with, like, hey, let me build this. But yeah, go ahead.
No, like I think that technically probably a Deso takes down towers quicker. You actually are probably right about that. That it's a little bit faster, but the potential of what aghs gives you in the tankiness aspect with a Dazzle on your team and the potential of just existing is something that a lot of people kind of put down a lot of times. Like they expect these carries to come out with maelstroms, and it's like maelstroms and Desos are like the only things that people can build, and it's for good reason. They're really good right now, but that also makes your hero not capable of being able to stay alive very well at all. And if you can have that buffer, that potential, it's really strong. And you might be right. There's a lot of buffer already that exists in this lineup. So maybe a Deso would be better in that given case, you know?
Well, I mean, you already have, I don't know, just thinking about it, you already have say you get your weave on Dazzle on most of the enemy heroes. Like, you already have the minus armor. And, of course, Desolator, it's extra minus armor. But I just feel like it's a little overkill. And I think aghs also adds to the team fight a little bit more. Like, you don't, obviously it's good to use it when you're pushing towers, but if for some reason you need to use your ult during a team fight, like it's a lot of damage, right? Like his aghs is a stupid amount of damage, especially for towers. But yeah,
it adds a lot of damage, and it adds a constant damage that exists. That, like, if you have, let's say, something like a TA, and you can keep them alive for a few seconds. Deso's nice, but if you don't have that constant picking at her shield, then you're not going to get through, and it still does the minus armor. It still adds up. So there's a lot of things about aghs that people don't really put into account with it, whereas Deso, it's easy to see the results because it works with every hero and it works on this certain style of play. Whereas aghs, people with good reason will say that it's situational. But if you could build around that concept of being an aghs guy, of having that potential, of having the ability to run over anything and get up on top of people with your ultimate, with Centaur, then yeah, it works better. I think that if I were to have Sladar, though, instead of a Centaur, I think probably it would be better to run Deso, just because you're stacking up that negative armor, and if you want that hit to just basically demolish someone in one hit. So it is a good point, and it's something that it's worth bringing up. But I do like aghs better personally for most of the time. I feel like.
Yeah. The other hero, I just remember the other hero I was trying to think of earlier. Goodness. Was timbersaw. You mentioned you would ban timbersaw. That was another hero I was going to add in there. I felt like you said, the burst damage to counter those heroes, and obviously he doesn't care about razors stealing his damage. Like, I think I've killed somebody maybe twice with timbersaw right click or something, you know. So that's definitely a hero that I would ban out for sure. I was thinking about putting that in there instead of the void, but either one I think would have been okay for that lineup.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's about getting away, right? So that's what you need. So
the draft is really, that's a really fun idea. Like I like both of your drafts that you've done. Like, I want to run them now.
Yeah, me too. I'm always excited to run stuff. But real quick, I want to talk about talents. I want to go, before we end today, I want to talk about what talents we what we would pick. So first off, Centaur, he has a level 10 talent of 2 mana regen or plus 35 damage. I personally don't like the mana regen. I'm never really a big fan of only 2 mana regen, even though it's a strength hero and that helps him more than, you know, the average hero. I just, like, 35 damage sounds so much better to me in that situation. So I would go 35 damage. What would you go?
I'd probably go to 35 damage, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So then level 15, we got the magic resistance versus the evasion. 10% on each, which, I mean, it depends on what you're fighting. See what the problem is there. I'm going to say magic resistance most of the time, though, for how the meta is. Then level 20, we got plus 15 strength over plus 10 spell amp. And I always think that this is kind of silly. It's like, yeah, I know that you could like blow someone up even quicker as a centaur, but I would rather just be able to live and have my return do that much more later on. Maybe I'm wrong with that. What do you feel like? You play offlane more than I do.
No, I feel like the strength would be good. The spell amp only does so much for so long. The strength, like you said, it would go into your return later in the game, and I feel like as a centaur, you're kind of in the middle of everything, right? You're blinking in, you're ulting in, you're stunning somebody, you're using an ability that gets rid of your HP. So I mean, I feel like strength is definitely a good option and probably the better option, unless you're going some monkey build, the like mage centaur where it's like a veil and just silly shit.
Yeah, that'd be a weird build, but it could be doable. So then 25 was there's the +1 second duration on hoof stomp or return aura. I would most definitely go return aura because after a while, it's not about having the stuns, it's about existing. And if you can exist on level 25 and kind of have that potential of, okay, if they hit me, they're going to have some serious problems, and you can like slow push down towers, that's a really good potential to have. And it works really well with magic resist, so you they have to hit you, and then they get the return right back to them. So
For
having
sure.
that pipe is kind of crucial to that, and having the return aura to counteract the auto attacks is just, it works perfectly together. So then for Invoker, his level 10 is plus 125 health or plus 15 damage. I'm just gonna run through these real quick since you said you don't really like to play Invoker very much.
Yeah, you can just go ahead.
Plus 15 damage, no, without a doubt. Level 15 is plus 30 XP gain or 1 more Forge Spirit. I feel like 7 times out of 10, a lot of times you're going to want that extra Forge Spirit. You need that extra push potential, and there's a lot that is available by getting that extra Forge Spirit, whereas getting the XP is nice, and it's kind of cool that you can get to the late game a little bit sooner than other people, but it can also be a double-edged sword if Invoker dies. And I feel like if you're having all of these ways to keep Razor alive, you're not 100% going to keep the Invoker alive. It's still better than most drafts, but I think the Forge Spirits are just perfect for this. So I'm going to say Forge Spirit, level 20, there's +7 all stats or plus 35 attack speed. It kind of depends on what you go. I think that the attack speed is way better if you go exort, and then the stats can be better if you're going for the quas wex type build, but eventually you're going to get points in like everything, and having the Aghanim Scepter kind of helps out everything, and you have to go it anyway. So generally the 35 attack speed is better because you're going to want these attack damage type spells more often than not. And then at level 25, the negative 18 second on Tornado is super crucial. Pros are doing it way more now, and for good reason, because you can get that down super low with the ability of having a Octarine and that now. It is like, I think it's like an 8-second cooldown or something insane like that. It's super low. So just tornadoes going all over the place. So always pick up that.
It reminds me of the moon, whatever, that the final stage on the Dark Moon game that they
Oh
had
yeah.
or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was nuts. Oh god. It's terror, nightmares, man. But no, Dazzle. So Dazzle's level 10. Go 125 health versus the plus 10 intelligence. Basically, you want to keep yourself alive with Dazzle. So 125 health plus 100 cast range at level 2. You don't want to get the plus 60 damage for level 15. You want the respawn time if you're kind of behind. If you're ahead, get the gold per minute. If you are when you hit level 25, it's super cool to get the poison second touch cooldown, but it's not as useful as the heal in an actual team fight, in an actual team scenario. So always go heal. That's my personal opinion. Going into clock, you want to be tanky, and you're going to be on top of people. So you want armor at level 10. You want the 50 plus 50 damage at level 15. Just because you're going to be in their face, you're going down anyway, you might as well go down swinging. You want that minus 25 second respawn timer at level 20. It sucks that it's only 25 seconds. Hopefully they buff that in the future, but it is definitely better than plus 10 to all stats, actually, because you need to be up quicker, and he's going to be a sacrificial lamb for your party. And then plus 400 health. You're going to live longer. You're going to have the blade mail, so you're going to do more damage transferably if people attack you. That's just how it's got to be. Then Razor, you go into move speed. That's very, very crucial. The plus 10 agility is very nice, but being able to chase people down is very, very crucial. And if you can go the agility if you're really, really rocking them, and they have some really slow guys, but I'm not going to suggest it unless you are really feeling comfortable in yourself. I would then go the plus 130 unstable current damage, because the 150 cast range really only affects your static link range. And while that is very nice, it doesn't really help out as much as the plus 130 damage if people single target you. We're just talking about that single target blow up spells, kind of an important thing. Doubling the damage on a current ability is pretty nice, so go for that. Level 20, we get the plus 30 attack speed, because obviously that's crazy with getting all that damage that you can. For the level 25, plus 14 static link damage steal per second. And it is awesome when you can get that all in combination. Sorry to cut you off there, Kimbrell. I was just trying to finish it up because we're running a little over on time here. Is there anything real quick you want to say about the talents that you...
I'm not sure if you're looking at old talents, but I'm pretty sure Dazzle's level 20 talents, minus 30 respawn time and 25 speed. I think he said something else, but
I went to the Dota wiki. I am dumb. Nice, good catch. Good catch.
There were two talents, I think. One was on Dazzle and one was on Clockwork, but I don't think they were that big of a deal. I mean, I would get the minus 30 respawn time on Dazzle. Yeah. And then on the Clockwork, it was 12 magic resistance instead of, I don't remember what you said, but instead of that.
Yeah, the magic resist would be super nice on Clock. So, good thing I got Kimbrell here to kind of show me up and show me the right path. You know, he's the one who keeps me honest, so it's good to have him around to keep me honest. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, Kimbrell?
No, if we're running over time, I can do my hero spotlight thing just another time. So we have been going for like an hour, so
yeah. I talked a little too much at the beginning. That's okay.
It's all right. I kind of stuttered. I got a work text earlier, and I was like stuttering with my draft and everything like that. Anyway,
it's all good.
No, I think I'm done. I think we're good.
All right, cool. Well, that ends this week's Brewmaster's Draft. We're going to close out the show now, everybody. And I'd like you guys, if you guys want to, you guys can always subscribe or like any of our videos. It'd really help us out. You can subscribe to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Toffees_Dota2. You can also go to our YouTube channel, which is 5 Midas Gaming. And any likes or subscribes, we're actually working on that. I'm going to talk to Toffees this week. I know I talked a little bit about it last week, but we're going to be doing some different things with Patreon and subscribing, so stay tuned. So we got, if you're feeling really, really generous and you want to give to our Patreon, Toffee's got his cool things going on right now. You can go to that where it's www.patreon.com/Toffees. You can also, if you have any questions for any of us, you can have any questions for me, Toffees, or Kimbrell. Toffees is at Toffees TV on his Twitter. On my Twitter, it is at FlubbDota, at skimbrell for Kimbrell. And if you have any questions that you want to give us or anything that you want to talk to us about, send me an email at crazyflub@gmail.com. So I'm glad you guys could stop by and have a brew before the quarterfinals, or not quarterfinals, but the qualifiers, I should say, for Kiev. And I hope that you guys have as good a week as I did. I'll catch you guys next week. See you later.
Bye, guys. iTunes and Stitcher. Bye.
iTunes and Stitcher, right. Follow us on iTunes or Stitcher as well, if you guys are wanting to hear the audio version of us. So I'll catch you guys later.